to the computer. All right, go ahead.
Sounds good. All right, get started.
All right. Oh, sorry. Whoopsies. Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. This is the nwPlus workshop series. And what are we doing today, Bonnie?
We are having the Hackathon Survival Guide for Design workshop, and we're super pumped, as you can probably tell from our enthusiastic voices, to have everyone here.
Yeah, so this is something that's really near and dear to us. So, okay, without further ado, let's just get introduced. Sadly, I can't get to know each one of you guys, but feel free to like Slack message or put any messages in Zoom. So yeah, right away, I'm Phil. I go by he, him, and his. Those are my pronouns. I'm in 4th year commerce. So design was something that was just like a side hobby, but now it's something that I'm really exploring, super excited. Another thing, a fun fact is that I consider myself a Minecraft architect. I'm the annoying guy who joins the server, and right next to my friends like wooden huts, I would build like a giant mansion. But yeah, I'm just passionate about design in all sorts of dimensions, like even 3D, like Minecraft. Okay, anyways, passing it to Bonnie.
Yeah, hello, as Phil mentioned, I'm Bonnie, and I'm currently in 3rd year LFS at UBC. Wow, what a surprise. But yeah, I would be considered a farm girl just because, I grew up on a farm and still live on a farm to this day. And I love making food puns, and I'm in the faculty of land and food systems. Like, whoa. And I got into design just because I thought it was just super cool. And I loved the community that was there. And yeah, I guess like now that we've introduced ourselves, hopefully everyone can, sit down. I've been planning this forever. Grab a cup of tea and just get comfortable as we go through this workshop and spend the next hour and a half together.
Yeah, so we'll try and get to the questions in chat, but we'll address them properly at the end. We have the section for that. Just going through the agenda, Bonnie.
Yeah, so throughout the workshop, we're just gonna go through the little introduction that we're going through right now, and just talk a bit about design, our past experiences, how we got started, and then go through a project walkthrough after we go through an exercise that we're going to propose, and talk about the differences between hackathon design and non-hackathon design, have a few tips and summaries, tips from our previous experiences, and then again, having the questions at the end and giving you a chance to connect with us. Also, disclaimer, the session will be recorded and the slides will be provided. So if you miss something, you can always rewatch the slides and the workshop. So yeah, a little bit about the organization, nwPlus. We are a student organized hackathon organization, and we're the largest hackathon organization in Western Canada. Previous years, we've had 3 flagship hackathons. Local Hack Day, nwHacks, and cmd-f. And yeah, they're all differing, some for beginners, some for more advanced. And then this is the All Women X Hackathon that happens in March. And currently, UBC Local Hack Day is going through a rebrand, so look out for that in the future. So some of our missions for this workshop and also as an organization is to bridge connections, definitely focus on like empowering skill building and also approaching tech as a tool, and just making sure that we're opening up to people from any faculty. As you can see, Phil and I are both not studying tech, but we are still super involved in hackathon space, and there shouldn't be a barrier that's stopping you from doing that as well. And yeah, this workshop purpose is a survival guide for design at hackathons, and hopefully some of the tips that we share here you can use when you are participating in hackathons to make the most of your experiences. And yeah, this workshop, anyone that is just like loves to learn about design, first-time hackers from any faculty, curious devs, or again, anyone that's just interested in design. And I'll talk a little bit about my journey. So getting into design, I first started off by impulse buying my Adobe Creative Cloud during Black Friday in like last year. And I just like started doing a bunch of designs and making a bunch of graphics and just joining a bunch of programs. So over the summer, I joined a program called Applied 2020, and I met a bunch of amazing people. And it was just a really cool experience to like go from start brainstorming phase all the way to the end. Yeah, going all the way to the end and just seeing your product come to life, and you get to like tell stories about your entire journey. Yeah, and then in the middle, there's like a product that I created or designed for one of the hackathons I participated in. And the image on the far right is actually a hackathon that Phil, our friend Katrina, and we did together during a weekend. And it was one of the most tiring but fulfilling experiences in terms of hackathons, say. And yeah, like these are some of the graphics that I created on my free time. I just like found some inspirational images online. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this too. And it just like really pushed me into the world of design. And I guess the main message is that there's not one way to get into design because everyone's journey is different. And this is simply just the way that I got started. And in terms of tools, you can see all of the amazing design tools that you can use. It kind of looks like a transit system. There's so many, and it's kind of hard to choose. But in terms of our favorite design tools, it's okay. Yeah, so our favorite design tools, especially for prototyping, we love Figma. You're going to hear so much about Figma from anyone that like does design in general. Adobe XD is a good contender, but still recommend Figma over it. Sketch is great as well. In terms of finding inspiration, Dribbble, Pinterest, or just different app stores, you can just download the apps, scroll through them, see how they kind of format and prototype their apps and see, yeah, just like how it works. And in terms of resources, writing Medium articles about your experiences or just reading about other people's hackathon experiences is also great. And UI kits are great, especially during hackathons because they save you a lot of time and they can make your final product look super nice in the end. But ultimately, the best tool to have are design skills. And yeah, I like can't disagree with that. So yeah, a little pun here. What the heck is Figma? So yeah, again, we're going to be talking about Figma quite a lot. And in a design space, it's basically like the Google Docs. And it's an intuitive way to make mockups and prototypes and work with like other designers and developers in real time. It's really fun to get everyone on board and just like see what everyone's doing. It kind of makes you feel like you're all in the same room, especially during like, you know, COVID, when you can't actually be in the same room designing together. And this is what all the nwPlus designers use. And it's a great tool to use. And this is just a little meme about how Figma basically takes over our lives and we can spend hours and hours talking about it, whereas like, compared to other things, like nothing compares to Figma.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to add one note. Today's workshop, we won't be covering Figma in terms of like the user interface or how to use it. But what we really want to talk about is like how to tackle hackathons. And there's a ton of resources for Figma online, but also feel free to reach out to Bonnie and I if you want to talk more about Figma. Yeah, but speaking of hackathons.
Yeah, in terms of hackathons in general, so for those that are like new to the hackathon space or like, yeah, just getting started, hackathons, basically you try to like solve a problem, you work with a team. Basically you like collaborate and then you create all these amazing memories, get super tired together, you learn all these skills and yeah, just create these amazing memories. It's all good. And in particular, design tasks that are generally done at hackathons include a lot of research, primary and secondary, tons of collaboration with people that are completely different from you, from any faculty, as mentioned previously, and a lot of mock-ups are done. So trial and error, see what works, and many more. But Phil will talk a bit more about that.
Okay. So I know I opened up super enthusiastic, but it's because I love this subject of hackathons so much that like nwHacks is my first hackathon. I loved it so much that I joined nwPlus, but it was because I just loved the spirit of hackathons. Like I was super nervous, like honestly, like 24 hours of doing like design. Like I've never worked with developers before. Like I can barely do a graphic design, and like I was super intimidated. And I think like it's my hypothesis, like I'm just hypothesizing here, but I think a lot of people could be intimidated by hackathons, and that's perfectly valid. What our mission is today is just to really get you guys more comfortable and acquainted, so you're ready to go when you're tackling your first hackathon, whether it's in person or not. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get started. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about design and the general process that designers go through. Of course, like this is super, it varies. But I'll just walk you through. You start by generally like defining a problem, figuring out the context of what kind of design you want to solve. So like, okay. Oh yeah. So just I guess a reminder to mute if you don't have a question, but we're all good. Okay. So generally it goes like this. You define a problem, you figure out the context. Next up, research is really digging deeper, asking why. That's a designer's job. And then for design, I love to call this phrase like the problem solving phrase, but you're honestly solving problems throughout. But this is where you get to make decisions towards those problems, which is really exciting. So designing and production, of course, is doing the graphic design. It's doing the UI. It's making, well, building it, yeah. And finally is the analyze part, where you get to refine your designs, look at user behavior, look at the data that goes through. Are people bouncing off your website? Are people using your app in a weird way? Or are they getting blocked from a certain call to action, or I guess like event that you want them to do? But yeah, as for this, like it's general. There's different design schools, or different people will say like, oh, the first stage is empathize, the second stage is that. But in general, it's really just a stepped process that's iterative that you can often go back to. And this, although like you're at a time crunch in a hackathon, you can still go back and do the research and design and production. Yeah, this is a little confusing for me starting off, but in general, like if there's one thing to take away, that just know that like it's an iterative process and you're always problem solving, and essentially that's what a hackathon is. And it doesn't, there's steps to it. What I like to call this is the hackathon squeeze. I know that like, I just wanted a way, like Bonnie and I both agree with this, where it's just, this is a way for you to kind of condense and think about it in a 24-hour time period, so you don't get way too out of scope or whack. And of course, like the time constraint on a hackathon is a real thing. So by planning, like sectioning it off means that not necessarily you can't go back, but you're really just like blocking off a time, so you know that like this will get done. Because like the last thing you want is to spend like, you know, you're on your 24th hour and you're still doing research and prototyping. You want to have a visual design ready to be presented, because you know it's a little hard selling like, you know, a wireframe or like a really sketchy, yeah, and a wireframe is just like a preliminary prototype, like a really rough draft. Okay, and then so yeah, you start by defining and planning. Next is research and prototyping. Next is visual design, and then finally it's a demo time. So it borrows from the past thing I showed you, but this is like just a condensed format. And there's no right or wrong. This is just one way of wrapping your head around it. So obviously, like find the way that works for you. This is just to get you started. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so problem definition and planning. This is asking like the what, or like really getting yourself orientated. So why I want to talk about like, you know, the problem definition stage is because it's actually really important. Like you need to be on the right footing when you're starting off a project with anyone, whether it's like another developers or the designers. If you go off on the wrong footing or you go in all willy-nilly, often that sets up, you know, the entire 24 hours of your hackathon. So you gotta go in and be open to exploring, but also be ready to plan, be ready to be strategic, because that will save the day for you. Because it saved the day for me. So this is really just like from personal experience. Bonnie and I, like we did a hackathon together, and this is essential. Okay, so yeah, you have well, the problem scope, pain points, and personas. Oh, I should probably walk through those. So again, like the problem for nwHacks and the other hackathons, like generally they're open. We won't give you a problem. It's essentially, you have to pick a problem that you're passionate about to solve. That's usually the key. Of developers and designers, pick a problem that everyone wants to solve. As for scope, really just figuring out like, I study marketing, so who's your target market? Like, are you designing for everyone? Are you designing for a specific group of people? Or like, how much of the product do you want to build in the hackathon? What's capable? So again, this is like setting the what you're gonna do. And of course, like pain points and personas, that's more on the user research. So that's also figuring out like, who are you designing for, right? So you have the what, you have the, okay, like, where are we gonna do this, but also who. And then all of this involves like team discussion and a deliverable timeline, and then also discussing features and feasibilities with developers. Okay, so this is a lot, but essentially to boil it all down, it's just really just communicating all that teamwork stuff. So if you've ever been in a sports team or any other team, all that applies. So again, like coming from any background, you have useful skills to bring to the table. Yeah, so I just examples for deliverables that you'll make here are like a schedule, user personas, and a brainstorm page. I know that there's like 3 brand new things, maybe for some of you, maybe you've all done it before. But yeah, I'd love to introduce them because these are my favorites. Oh, okay, so I talked about the problem initially, right? So the problem I'm gonna walk you through is an actual problem that we addressed at like my nwHacks, just the nwHacks event. I was solving this problem with 5 people. The thing was, I think why our team worked really well was because we were really passionate about, finding a solution to global warming. But not just that, like the best thing I could say to any product designer, product manager, product marketer, developer, like build a product that you think you would use. Because like if you're a user, that helps the design process a lot. Because like you can kind of use a bit of that background knowledge. So yeah, okay, I'm rambling. But yeah, our problem was global warming. So it seems like a Herculean task. It's huge. Like, how do you tackle something like global warming with an app, like a bunch of scrappy hackathon, I guess, like competitors? Or like, it's actually easier when you break it down with a question like, how might we? So this is what designers use commonly. So how might we sounds like a simple statement. I was like, okay, like this is the first time I encountered this statement, like how might we? That's kind of basic, right? Don't you learn this in elementary school? But what this is like how implies like, okay, like you're thinking about like solutions or like possible solutions. So like these could be very far off, like just amazing answers to a problem, right? But the might implies that, you could potentially solve this during a hackathon. So it gives that sense of almost urgency or possibility. So I really like this statement. What I chose to do and brought back to my team was like, how might we make it easier for people to reduce carbon emissions by changing their lifestyles? So this is like a little bite-sized nugget of like solving the big problem of global warming. And yeah, okay, so we have the problem, like the what. Let's go back to who we're actually solving it for. Because like there's 7 billion people on the planet. Oh, I switched to this slide a little too quickly, but okay, there's 7 billion people on the planet. Who are you actually solving this problem for? Who would you be addressing with your product? For this, I've picked 2 user personas. This is what I did during the hackathon. And this is really to get a visual in your head of like who you're solving the problem for. Like you're not designing for, I don't know, for the sake of designing, you're designing to solve a problem. And so yeah, you lay it out to these 3 things: motivation, goal, and needs. As for this, it's in a hackathon, like you're limited on time. So what I would do is just, lay out a couple of sentences really quickly just to wrap your head around it. Maybe find an image or examples of who this person might be. So for example, this is Janice. She wants to change her lifestyle after attending a sustainability class in university. So she wants to reduce her carbon emissions because that's her goal, because she has motivation behind that. And you also figure out the needs. Okay, well, what does our product address in terms of needs? So, okay, like maybe she wants to visualize her impact because, you know, she's on this new lifestyle change. Like how is she growing? Also social sharing and community. So she wants to share the progress that she's making. And of course, like she's in a class, like she wants to bring it back to her class and say like, yo, this is what I've done with sustainability. Yeah, okay, so that's motivation, goal, and needs. And the another part is like, you're not designing for one person all the time because there's different stakeholders or people that may want to use your app. And oftentimes these people may have different motivations. So I made Michael here because he's riding a bike, but he's an avid biker. He does good for the environment, but he just wants to keep it up. Like he's already a champ. This guy's a really cool guy. Okay, so he likes to get around Vancouver, but he also wants to remind himself like to reduce his carbon emissions, like how he can optimize. So this guy is like a power user. He wants metrics for his eco-friendly habits and lifestyle, and it's short on time to start. He wants to use this app really quickly. Okay, so in a hackathon situation, like I guess you could call up your friends or like ask, but in this situation, remember that you're tight on time. Although these are really useful tools to get started, you don't have to perfect these. Unlike let's say you were working doing design, like this is just a really rapid way to wrap your head around it, and not just you, for potentially when you're pitching to wrap your head to help your, I guess like the people judging, help them wrap their head around your product. And also for your teammates to get them on board. So like I showed this to my developers and they're like, cool, like now we have an idea who we're designing for. Okay, cool. Are there any messages in the chat? Sorry, I just want to make sure that everyone's all good. Okay, yeah, I've been talking for quite a while, but yeah, just the vibe check. Okay, we're all good. So brainstorming. You've probably done this in like, before, right? You're coming up with brand new ideas, but I just want to introduce you some different ways that you could make this easier for yourself to really squeeze that, I guess, like the creative juices out of your head. So yeah, you often see designers with their sticky notes. I'm obsessed with sticky notes. Unfortunately, I didn't bring too many sticky notes to my hackathon, but that's okay. You can brainstorm on anything. Nowadays, there's products online like Miro, for example. I would write that down if you like online brainstorming, but that's fantastic. I use it for work, I use it for school. I'm not sponsored by Miro, by the way. Anyways, yeah, you could really just use a pen and paper. Like that's what I did for the hackathon because that's all you need. Yep. All right. Yeah, so I've been talking for a long time. I just wanted everyone to recalibrate with a quick exercise. So I wanted you guys to brainstorm for 3 minutes. So we talked about the problem that we picked. Unfortunately, I didn't give you guys a chance to pick, but it's a workshop, so we had to come up with something. But yeah, so we defined the problem a little bit. So it's on global warming and pollution. And the other thing was we figured out who we might address, just to figure out like, you know, who we're tackling the problem for. Okay, so anyways, yeah, based on what I explained, feel free to come up with a how might we statement. So again, like this is like really opening yourself up to possibilities, breaking down that big task of solving global warming. Like you just break it down into how might we. Like you're not gonna like and solve it with an app, but there's ways that you could solve some pain points or help people out. So that's the core of design. It's like asking why and how. And then off the top of the head, just propose 5 potential features that those people might like. So we mentioned like they have different needs. So once you think of needs, your job as a designer is to figure out, okay, like how do we like make those needs, like make it meet in the middle with the app. Okay, so right now the time is, oh, okay, I'll look on my, okay, so we're 30 minutes in. I'll give you guys 3 minutes. So really just feel free to put it in the chat. Feel free to just take a little break for a while and recalibrate. Yeah. I'll get back to you guys in 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm just gonna give everyone 30 seconds. But yeah, don't feel bad if like you haven't wrapped all your heads or your thoughts up yet. That's okay. But this is really just to get you to start thinking, because as a designer, you're always thinking about problem solving and what ways you could solve a problem. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're gonna cut it off here. So I have 2 replies. Oh my God, I'm so happy. Like keep those coming because this is super exciting. Okay, let's start off. Roberto, how might we spread the awareness of global warming and possible actions people can take in order to help reduce the impact of global warming? Okay, this is awesome because like now you have you've broken down the goal to something smaller. You want to spread awareness. So is it something that you want to spread to a lot of users, right? And maybe it's educational. So now you've wrapped your head slightly around it. You want to do something educational. So you can start looking into other apps that are educational and building it off that. So for Lisa wrote, how might we make eco-friendly seem less daunting? So I'm sure, yeah, like this is common in psychology where you know that people want to make sustainable change. They like you ask a person on the street and they're gonna say like, hell yeah, like I wanna make the environment better. But it does seem daunting when you're actually sitting down at home trying to tackle global warming. Because I remember growing up as a kid, I was like, oh my God, the teacher said that the globe is warming up by like 1 or 2 degrees. I'm so scared. Like, how do I solve this? So yeah, so you're thinking about like an app and how do we make it less scary? I'll go through 2 more here. Okay, how might we encourage users to understand and reduce consumption as a community? Awesome, that addresses I can't remember the name of the persona that I made. Oh, Janice. Okay, so Janice wanted social sharing and community. This one's awesome because you added that, you're addressing a need. So that's awesome. You've broken down the question into something more manageable. And then, oh, I love Irene's. Next one is, how might we encourage people to be more conscious of their fashion consumption? This is awesome because I worked in retail and I was just like screaming inside because all of this stuff was fast fashion. And it was like, not good. So this is a problem, but she's broken it down to something more manageable. So now you want to focus on fashion consumption. So this is awesome. This is just an awesome, like, it seems simple, but it actually sets the ground up for your entire 24 hours. So don't skimp on this. Don't skimp on this. Okay. This is awesome, guys. Like, I really appreciate you guys chiming in. I was expecting like 1 reply. So you guys are awesome. Okay, let's keep it up. Hope you guys got like a little break, maybe got some water, and then we'll get back to it. So again, most of this is, yeah, Bonnie has her tea. We just really want to make the session warm and inviting. Just shoot any questions. And of course, like this is a presentation or walkthrough of a hackathon project I did myself. Yeah, so this is the big reveal. I'm gonna reveal like how I chose to solve it. And of course, there's no right or wrong answers. Well, like there's only budget and other things and how willing your developers are willing to do like a new feature. Because I've worked on different teams and well, at work, and sometimes I just ask like a really far out feature and it's okay. Anyways, okay, I love rambling, but okay, let's dive deep into it. So I chose Eco Village. This is what it looked like at the end. I will basically break this project down. You got a little bit of pieces of like the problem and like the user personas that I used, but now let's dig into like some other aspects. So yeah, Eco Village is a lifestyle tracking app for carbon emissions. So I'm really excited that we did something like this because it touched on some topics that I was studying in class because I'm studying marketing and we're studying consumer behavior. We're looking at behavioral economics. I like psychology and I also like sustainability. So for some reason, like I got to tackle all these problems in one project. So this is why I freaking love hackathons because you get to like use all different knowledge areas. And I didn't feel like I was at it. Well, I felt nervous, but like I felt like I had stuff to bring to the table and I had a really great team to support me. So yeah, let's go into it. Yeah, so brainstorm page. We talked a little about brainstorming. I just broke this down into like different potential features. So purchasing decisions, volunteer opportunities, carbon offsetting, social media. So really like just dumping things out there, like just go wild, right? Because this is a project that you really want to make that could potentially make a difference, right? In the smack in the middle is my brainstorm page. See, I only brought like one type of sticky note and they were huge. So like I couldn't quite brainstorm in that way where like I had all the sticky notes out, but I still had a sheet of paper out. Hold on. Oh, okay, sorry. My eyes are watery from staring at a screen for so long. Okay, anyways. Yeah, so I want to introduce you guys to the affinity board. So once you collect all those different features and ideas, like it's a scramble. I showed you that board with just like a crap ton of these sticky notes. But this is a way where you could really section them off into different categories and phone's on. Okay, you could really wrap it up and categorize them so you can better solve the problem. So I divided it into 3 different buckets. So there's purpose. So these ones would address the core purpose of the app. Another thing that I was just learning about was gamification. So this is like the technique of just like making things easy to use, or like not just easy to use, but fun. Like there's a sense of reward. So gamification essentially is like just knowing about human behavior. So we love visualizing our progress, right? We love competition. We love quantification. There's like visualizing abstractness and fun facts. So like we wanted to make this fun, like not just tracking carbon emissions, but have a reason for people to come back. So that's why we chose gamification. And then at the end is app and social. So these are other features that could address the potential needs of the users, right? Volunteer opportunities, we're thinking of community. So I was thinking of let's do some volunteer listings on this app. Next is we did social media, like you could share. Another thing was, yeah, just settings. So really dump all your ideas out. There's no bad idea. Just make sure that you come to like a refining your ideas. Like that's the whole purpose of a hackathon, is really being all wild out there. But then as a designer, you want to dial it back and ask your why. Ask like, why are you doing this? What problem are you solving? Okay, and you do that with surprisingly just a bunch of sticky notes. Okay, planning. So I mentioned before, like, okay, like it's make it or break it if you don't plan properly in the beginning. So I have 4 tips for you here. Like these are like my key tips for any hackathon. If you want to survive, these 4 tips, okay? So be strategic. Understand that you're not gonna spend it symmetrically, your time. Like it won't be like 1/3, like, oh, 1/3 will be designing, 1/3 will be like UX, right? It's not, it's not like that. You have to adjust and be adaptable. Sometimes it's like a really tough problem and it's not your knowledge area. Spend more time on the problem definition, spend more time on the brainstorming. But if maybe like UI design is not your strong suit and you want to learn more, just spend more time doing UI or user interface or just designing the graphics. So what I mean by be strategic is really to know yourself and know what you want to learn, because hackathons are for learning. They're not just like, it seems really competitive, but to be honest, the best thing you can get out of a hackathon is actually like knowledge. So yeah. Yeah, manage your energy. This is so important because it's 24 hours. And by managing your energy, like make sure you're eating, make sure I got 1 hour of sleep for this 24-hour hackathon, but still that was managing my energy, like know when to take proper breaks. Of course you can sleep. I chose not to because it was just so exciting. But yeah, just like normal, like when you're studying, just remember you're still human, you're still you. Although it's 24 hours, make sure that you have enough fuel to go all the way through. And don't beat yourself up about it. Like there are so many times where like, okay, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Sort of vibe. But like you just take a step out, like, go to like take a break, annoy your friends around you. I would annoy the people organizing the hackathon, you know, ask them questions. The other thing is with hackathon events in person, there's a lot of little fun and games that you could do. There's a lot of food and snacks. Unfortunately, with online hackathons, you can't quite do that. You can't quite just go to bother the person next to you. But Bonnie and I did a online hackathon and it was absolutely fine. So still, like, just spend some time, go on your phone, take a walk, I don't know, manage your energy. Okay, so there's two things. Keep yourself accountable. I'll just go quickly through this, but yeah, that's why I put these calendar things here. I sectioned off every single section of, it seemed a little obsessive, but this actually like made sure the project got done, was just blocking off different times so you know that you have a rough idea of what you're doing. So yeah, like my entire hackathon, like I spent some time networking. I spent some time like getting help from others. But yeah, you can see like the brainstorming. I attended a design workshop. So this is my first time using Figma. But yeah, there's workshops out there for you guys to attend at different hackathons. I'm guaranteed that there's a few, it's a learning experience, right? But some of you guys commented on panic, an hour of panic. But this goes to my last point, is give yourself a buffer. This is so important. Like I swear, like, if you don't give yourself that 1 hour, like in this part, like I had to submit, do all the last minute changes. Like for example, my prototyping went over and I didn't quite like do it all. And then I had to do the write-up, and then it was just really a game changer when you have a panic button that you could press. Like I literally panicked, but I think that's with every hackathon because it's a 24-hour time crunch. But yeah, with those 4 tips, whether you're a dev or a designer, these things are awesome to get you, on track. Okay, now stage 2 is research and prototyping. Yeah, so user research again. I know I did the personas, but you're always researching about like who you're solving the problem for. So throughout, I was researching like through like scholarly articles. I was looking online. So again, I put like primary and secondary research. You're mainly doing secondary research because it's really hard to do primary research, which is like talking to people like face to face or actually doing an experiment, because it's a time crunch. But there's tons of resources online. Just a Google of your potential user or demographic is pretty awesome. So yeah, competitive analysis and mock-up and sketches. These are the example deliverables that you want to have by this stage, just to keep yourself on track. Like you don't absolutely. Actually, no, you absolutely need to have these. I won't discredit these. So analysis, lo-fi sketches, and mid-fi mockup. So this is a little terminology here. Lo-fi stands for low fidelity, which is essentially, it's just like not the perfectly crisp version of your design yet, but it's a rough prototype. So you know what's going on because you just had a big problem, right? And you're breaking it down. So like, oh, how does that look on paper? So you really want to just sketch out ideas, and you're still technically brainstorming here. Next up is your mid-fi mockup. So it's mid-fi, mid-fidelity. This is the stage where you can start presenting to your developers, or if you're a developer yourself, this is where you can figure out like, oh, okay, like this is where I want everything to go. So you're not scrambling at the last minute to put things in. So essentially, like you're still planning here, but it's like you're doing stuff, you're problem solving. Okay, so analysis, so competitive analysis. I come from a marketing background, so like, okay, like everything is competitive analysis, right? You want to analyze what other people are doing around you. So you're not copying anything, right? This is more of just figuring out what's out there. So this is Forest. It's one of my favorite apps, but it uses gamification, and it also it aims to change behaviors. So I was like, this is absolute gold. This is absolute gold for what I'm trying to make. It's a different problem. It's a different process, but I know that people have done it and it's actually really enjoyable to use. So this was heavily inspired by Forest. Next up, not just being inspired by what's good, you can also spend I spent like 10 minutes of a roast session with my developers. Like we all downloaded these carbon emissions tracking apps out there. So one thing I want to mention is like most of these ideas have been done before. Likely you're not working on something that's like completely brand new. Like maybe it's a variation, but like you have something to work off of. So yeah, we looked at carbon emissions apps, and the key here is not looking at what's good about. Like you can look at what's good about them, but also look about the gaps. Do an analysis on what it's missing. Write them down. Write down like, okay, well, this app, it says like, okay, you have to manually type anything in. We can do that better. Like that sucks. And then like, that's the whole goal of a designer, is to make things better. You're not necessarily creating new problems. That's not a designer, but you're always optimizing and iterating and figuring out different ways to solve problems. So yeah, summarizing, look at the good stuff, look at the bad stuff, synthesize it, and make something even better. Yeah, okay. Very quickly, these are lo-fi sketches. this is chicken scratch. I think starting off designing, I was just like, yo, like these guys are designers. Can't they draw better? Like, yuck. But I realized that no, like you're supposed to be super rapid. Like take like each one of these probably took less than like just a minute or two to sketch, because you want to lay out your ideas. You want to be rapid. You don't want to don't fall in love with your design right away. That's my suggestion. Just always be willing and receptive to different suggestions. But okay, well, you have something physical now. What did I talk about like before about communication? Like bring this to your developers. Be like, okay, well, what's going on? Like do you let's just what I think, like, is this feasible? Are these like features you want to work on? Like, and at a hackathon, it's really chaotic. So you need to communicate like every single stage, or else you don't want to silo yourself off as a designer. You want to keep in contact with any of your developers. Yeah, so as you can see, like I laid out the homepage, I laid out like the basic flow to like this main screen. And then I also looked at different, so I knew that we wanted to display data, right? We wanted to display data over time. So I made a table and a graph, and then this was laying out the foundation for a user profile. Okay, that was a lot of speaking. But yeah, let's keep on going. So we talked about mid-fi. It's really refining your ideas. So she looking kind of rough, but it's a better idea for your designers now, or no, for your developers now, because they can see, oh, this is where everything goes. This is what they might need, and this is really like, this is a really great point for conversation now, because now you can talk really deeply about what the different sections you have are. How does your app flow? How does each page go from each other page? So although you're not showing this necessarily to the people at the end for your demo, this is still valuable in the sense that like your whole process, your whole design process, like it matters. Like design isn't just like getting from point A to B. Like you should really be like thinking about your whole, like the whole journey matters. So although this is kind of rough, but like I'm still proud because like this is where I got to learn about Figma and like to really experiment. And looking here, okay, well, I laid out the different labels: transportation, purchases, energy. We wanted to track that in Eco Village. And then over here, like I'm big on we were solving Biko's problem, which is, quantifying the amount of carbon emissions that he saved. Yeah, okay, like I'll just be past this, but feel free to ask any questions after or during about mid-fi, high-fi, low mockups. Okay. Are there good tools to hand over the assets to developers? Okay, I'll answer this question really quickly from Roberto. Yeah, so normally designers use a tool called Zeppelin. So Zeppelin is something where you could just upload your design and then the developers would be able to know where exactly the pixels go and understand how each flow works. But for me, I just actually shared my Figma file with them and they were able to see. So that was actually the way to go. Figma nowadays is amazing. I think Zeppelin was only useful back when people were using Sketch. Anyways, yeah, let's keep on going. Yep. So visual design. Remember what I said about being strategic? Visual design, I felt like I was super strategic, which really helped. In the sense, I come from more of a graphic design background. I grew up loving art. Now, while the devs are implementing your mid-fi designs, right? You don't have a lot to do because you've already laid it out. You've done your research. Yeah, another thing I want to mention is like there's a super big time crunch immediately for a designer because the devs need to start knowing what they're doing. Whereas like it's different in a normal situation where like the developers are kind of gated by the designers in a way, like they have to know what goes on the page. But okay, anyways, I was strategic because I left visual design for a time when I didn't have much to do. So I did all my mid-fi designs and it's so easy to get like to stray away. Like you're like, oh my God, I want to do like graphics because it's fun during a hackathon. But sure, it's fun, but are you really learning? Are you really pushing the boundaries of what it means to be a designer? Not really, because like design is a whole lot more than just making things beautiful. Okay. But yeah, so while I had downtime, this was like the middle of the night. So of course, like I grabbed my snacks, I grabbed my chips, like during nwHacks. But then I just started working on the visual design. So that was using a different part of my brain. And I would, why I want to speak on like developers as well, like design is actually a perfect place for you to just give your brain a rest for a moment and like maybe come back to the different problems. So if you're a developer in this, like you can try design too. Like it's actually a great way to like unwind. Okay, so visual design, you sync with the team to make any changes or additional features. At this stage, yeah, like you've given them the mid-fi, so you gotta make sure it's approved. Like, have you done something super crazy? Like as a designer, like I want to make something like AI machine learning with like glowing lights and have it like all fancy, but sometimes it's not feasible within 24 hours. So again, communication is key. Just make sure you're still communicating at this stage. Now for hi-fi, this is where you make the app look presentable. This is really important in design too, because the better it looks, the more perceived it is to actually be useful. So like if I showed you the mid-fi thing that I had, which is like really ugly, like you wouldn't want to use it. But hi-fi is where you color the buttons, you make sure you tighten up the spacing, you make sure that everything looks nice, like it's an actual functioning app. So there's branding, color templates, and icons that you can also work on. These are like the various assets, like after you've done the hi-fi, and these are pretty core to your product. Yeah, one thing I want to mention here. Okay, one thing I want to absolutely want to mention is that like people don't necessarily respond to a product like in terms of like what they think about your product. Like your product could have a gazillion features. It could solve like a big like gargantuan problem, but people actually respond to what the product makes them feel. So how do you make someone feel? It's actually through the branding, the color, the animations, the like humans are so visual. Humans are so, I guess, like receptive to things that look nice. So it's not just embellishment. You're actually improving the user experience. And as a UX designer, that's exactly what you want to do. So yeah, people don't respond to features. People respond to feeling. So you want to make them feel something. Yeah, so completed UI, illustrations to make things all spicy and make things relatable, and a presentation at the end to pitch your product. Because why the hell did you work 24 hours not to like make it presentable and all look all nice? So this is the part where you give that extra elbow grease. It's usually done near the end of the hackathon, but it's also one of the most enjoyable parts if you like visual design. Yeah, and I put use UI kits. This is where you can speed up the process. So UI kits are essentially like predefined elements that you can just pop into your app, and they will look really, really nice. And it's great for when you're in a time crunch. But ideally, like in a real situation, you want more customizability. Anyways, okay, I ramble a lot. Thank you everyone for following along still. Okay, so there's completed UI. Yeah, so this is the big reveal. This is what it looked like. So our solution was to visualize abstract goals just right away. So for both the users, the personas, it was really just like okay, Canada emits 700 million tons of CO2 every year. And like 700 million tons, you can't, it's so abstract, right? But we said, how might we like, visualize people's carbon emissions? So like we've broken down the problem, and now we've come up with a concrete solution, was just to gamify it, to visualize the actual impact that we're making on screen. So yeah, it says gamification. A user's long-term decisions would be reflected on screen. So over time, right? Like our app, essentially, it would track all of the carbon emissions emitted through transportation, through your purchases, through energy. So on the transportation side, the developers made like GPS tracking, and they were able to track like the distance between how long a person's traveling and how fast they're traveling. And it would ask like what mode of transport you're using. So on our app would recommend them, oh, if you've been using the car, like, oh yeah, you can use the bike to reduce your carbon emissions. Another thing was purchases, which was really cool. One of the developers made a Google Chrome extension, and that was really cool because it would read off the receipt of like, let's say someone bought some stuff at Save on Foods. It would look at it and be like, oh, that's a steak. On average, a steak is like it takes like per every gram of steak, maybe it takes like a gram of CO2 to produce. So it would tally all of that up, and it would be able to translate that into a number, but not just a number. As you see here, there's a house. Over time, that number would change. And if you started emitting more carbon emissions, then visually what happens is it starts changing. So your village, your eco village starts dying. Yeah, there's obviously like a lot of backstory on EcoVillage if you want to read up on it. I can't possibly fit it in this short time period. But yeah, feel free to read my Medium article after, or just talk to me more about it, because this is something like I really enjoyed. I used a lot of insights that I learned in class. Yeah. Okay, so again, talking again back to illustrations. I talked about practicality and being strategic. So I chose a really easy illustration style here. Like a lot of the times people may, well, you can copy and paste illustrations online, but you're missing something there, because like you're missing the branding, you're missing that really the whole thematic of your app. So I really just like spat these out in like a couple hours, just because I got maybe tired of doing the wireframe. But I was like, this is, you had me 4 hours on this project. The whole shoot did look nice. Like it's just like making something, making people feel, making people excited about the product that they're working on. Okay, and one last story from me before I hand it off to Bonnie is the demo. So I messed up on my first hackathon. I didn't think the demo was valuable. So the demo stage is when the judges will, or I guess like the judges or maybe like other hackathon goers will look at your product and evaluate it. And I thought that, oh, I'm just a designer. Like I don't know much about this product. I just made it look pretty. But I regret that, because like this is honestly, over time I've learned that demos is where you really tell your story. And as a designer, you're really just a storyteller. Well, not just a storyteller, but like you're good at storytelling. You're good at approaching a person to your product and tell the story of like how you designed it. What did you research? So eco-villages were based off of real life eco-villages, where like in real life, eco-villages talk about sustainability, like in terms of cultural, like environmental, financial, like all sorts of things. So like I wish I could have told them, because this is like all my ideas and all my things, and I can't believe I discredited myself, because I honestly like I didn't contribute much to the demo phase. But thankfully, I had a developer that could really speak on behalf of my designs. Like I told him the story of everything, and he is honestly so encouraging. So again, like you're not doing this alone. This is not like you're not, oh, I'm just the designer and I just like silo off and I just do the designs and I make things look pretty. No, absolutely not. You're a problem solver. You're a team player. You work with your developers to like make something amazing, make something kick ass. So be there fully. That's something I wish I did, and just tell your story. But yeah, at the end, oh my God, it's 24 hours. So make sure you celebrate with your team and just be really happy with what you've accomplished. Okay, well, actually, I have one more, I think 2 more screens. I have one more screen before Bonnie. Okay, I'm sure you guys are dying to hear about the rest of Bonnie, what she has to say. So yeah, what to do after? Essentially, it's I made an article, and not just to bring it out into the world, but I really wanted to reflect, because part of the like, yes, you learn so much in 24 hours, but if you walk away after 24 hours and go like, okay, whatever, you don't actually learn much. Well, like other than like the practicality, but like you really let it soak in after the 24 hours. And I think like, there's so much learning to be done after. Like you reflect on like, what new tech did I use, I guess, as a developer, or like what are some things that I learned, and you need to reflect about them and even expand on them. Because I actually learned more about users, and I actually could go back and do some more user research to figure out, is my solution actually valid? So yeah, after the demo period, you're still learning from your hackathon. And of course, I said about celebrating. One of my friends posted it on LinkedIn. So that's us. That's me smiling in the front. And that's EcoVillage, the way we presented it. So these guys are really awesome. I actually met most of them like during the hackathon. So I made some friends that I could talk to the rest of the university. So that's really awesome. Like you're not just learning, you're not just competing, you're also having a jolly good old time. Yeah. And yeah, so as a result, like I'm still like, I still feel so much imposter syndrome, but like there were judges that really liked our product, and we ended up winning $1,250 in terms of like I guess like TD was doing a green challenge, and our product addressed like the most global warming issues, and we packaged it in a way that we made the TD judges feel. They really enjoyed listening to our presentation, the story. They enjoyed the visuals. You could see people's faces light up when they were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" Like it's interactive and it's gamified. Oh my God, your illustrations. Or like, yeah, there was even a guy from Deloitte, and he was just like, "Dude, who's your designer? Dude, like he's awesome." And I was just like, "I don't know him. I don't know him." Anyways, okay, but yeah, like you never know what you expect. So I would say to anyone, like my only regret is not doing hackathons earlier. Hackathons are awesome to learn from, and hackathons are a place where you can get a lot of value out of. Well, not like monetarily, but like in terms of like friendship and learning, because hackathons have really propelled not just my academics, but my career. I'm passionate about like product design and product management now. And my life would have been a lot different if I didn't attend this hackathon. So you never know. Attend maybe one of nwPlus's hackathons and your life could change. But yeah, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'll pass it back to Bonnie to just round things up and give us some more insights. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Philman, for sharing. Can everyone just give him like a virtual round of applause? Just like, yeah, I can't really see it, but very cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Philman. That was so inspiring, honestly. Even like hearing your story multiple times, just, yeah, loved your energy. Amazing. Great work. I'll take over now. But as Philman mentioned, where did the other picture go? Oh, you're muted. Oh, there it is. But yeah, basically, as Philman was mentioning, hackathons and the normal design process, like you can think of hackathons as like a sprint, a marathon, something where you have a lot of deadlines, you're looking at the clock all the time, rather than the usual design process where you're just casually walking in the park. And this really goes to show like the importance of scheduling. And like Philman mentioned, you have to like schedule in panic sessions and just like schedule everything in, make sure that you take breaks and take care of yourself during the hackathon. And then, yeah, definitely do note that you will have a lot of time, energy, and creative restraints, and you might not be able to do everything that you wanted to do during the hackathon. And it's just like, you have to know what you want to sacrifice and also to manage your expectations and know that it's still going to be a great time, even though you won't be able to do exactly everything that you wanted to accomplish. But yeah, hopefully you'll get enough done. And some design tips that Philman and I kind of compiled from our previous experience at hackathons. Definitely find a mentor if you're stuck. And if you're a little bit shy, Google is a great stand-in as well. I know I'm always like on Google searching up like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And like you look through my entire history and yeah, it's a great time the next day. Once you're actually fully awake and not sleep deprived, definitely work on your storytelling and creating your brand, because as Philman mentioned, making sure that your product can make others feel things and to be able to tell a story that way is a great way to like make people want to download your app or like to be super drawn in and want to know more about what you've designed and created during this event. Also, these tips that we're giving you, everything that Philman went through, everything that like I'm also going through, this is a guide. It's not a checklist that you have to do, but it's just simply our process and what we found to be super useful when we were participating in hackathons. And also visiting app stores for competitive analyses reasons. You can like roast as many apps as you want, or you can admire and be in awe in so many other ones as well. But it's a great place to see like who's out there, what else you can do, and yeah, get a lot of inspiration as well. And again, we can emphasize this a million times, strategic time management. Depending on like however long your hackathon is, it's always great to just block off certain chunks of time to take care of yourself and to work and to collaborate with others as well. And ultimately, this whole workshop was a guide to how to survive designing at hackathons. And you see Bear Grylls here from Survivor. Design is like, you have to improvise, adapt, and overcome a lot of the obstacles that do exist when you are in such a time crunch. And it's okay to, like, again, sacrifice and just like, if you see some other idea that might work better, considering your circumstances, just do that. Like, you don't have to always be stuck in like doing and following this to-do list. You have to check off all of these boxes and stuff. It's not like that. Like, you can change whatever comes your way. So yeah, learn from Bear Grylls. And just to wrap up, basically how to survive, main 4 points is just to follow your strengths, to have fun. You know, the hackathons, like, you have to remember that you are valuable, and also your project is worthwhile. Like, even though like your project, it might not come out exactly how you wanted it, you still learn a lot of skills during this entire like time crunch period. And you also met a bunch of cool people that you can talk to for the rest of your university career. And yeah, again, as sappy as it sounds, enter a hackathon with confidence and optimism. Just be open to meeting new people, to trying new things and solving different problems from ways that you might never have looked at it before. And again, don't be afraid to ask for help, whether that be from a person, from an online mentor, or Google. Yeah, they're all there for you to help you out. And a little summary of everything that we just talked about during this workshop is, yeah, again, getting started. Like, everyone has a different design background and like however they got started. Like Philman and I, we all have different paths, and we are just all super excited to like be here presenting to everyone that's in this workshop right now about our experiences and how we can share our tips as well. Wow, it went from 1 to 3 and then 4 to 5 to 5. That's nice. We see like everybody makes mistakes, but you just laugh it off. It's completely fine. Yeah, different project walkthroughs. So you saw a bit of what Philman did during his hackathon, and looking at the differences between hackathon design and non-hackathon design, and just like taking note of the time, creativity, and energy constraints. Also a few tips and summaries. And we just have a little question period afterwards, and you can get connected with us with the social media links. Social media links here. You can just, yeah, add us on LinkedIn, or you can go old fashioned and send us an email. I love emails. It's my go-to social media. People make fun of me for that, but you know, I will respond real fast if you email me. And yeah, check out Philman's site. It's super cool. He has all of his projects on there. Yeah, feel free to like add me on Facebook if you want to. And check out nwPlus, because we have a bunch of workshops that are coming up, and we hope to see all of you there. But yeah, thank you for, oh, no, not yet. We're doing questions.
Right.
We're
Yeah,
doing
like
questions.
I just wanted to add, like, just content. Like, there's no stupid questions, especially when it comes to design. Everyone's just learning to discover. And oh, where can we find the record and the slides? I believe it will be sent out via email, and then I'll just add it on to good old Slack for extra measure. And if you really want, I can like just send you another link. So you'll get them. But yeah, we were talking about all these hackathons, and like, yeah, we're a hackathon organization. If you want to attend an online hackathon, this is a really great way to start. And if you're from, like, you know, you don't have to be from UBC. We love all schools. Like, just come here and just learn. It's awesome. But yeah, okay, opening up to questions now.